Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a principle in democracy which says that you don't have taxation without representation. And that phrase comes to mind in this situation where this bill, part of it suggests that the Local Government Commission will have the right to impose council-controlled organisations on any amalgamated local body once that has been put in place. And that is not really, I believe, what New Zealanders would expect, because there is a requirement to streamline some areas of local government, and there is a requirement to look at better ways of delivering services, but it should not be for some Wellington Commission to determine in a particular area how that local area should itself fully operate. They should provide the tools and they should provide the mechanisms for the local people to determine how they will operate in their particular region or area, but they should not impose that on them. And in a situation, and I look at the situation such as Hawke's Bay, it should not be the right of people distant from Hawke's Bay to say to Hawke's Bay, we're going to put you all into one new council, which will be over 150 kilometres in length, which will take up to 4 hours to drive from the Mahia Peninsula down to Takapau, an extensive area of the country. And it shouldn't be their right to then say, not only are we taking your democratic rights away and imposing a new council on you, but we're also going to impose council-controlled organisations to control half of your assets. That is not right. I don't think the people of Hawke's Bay would put up with that one little bit. And there is a situation there where locals should have a right to have to self-determine what they are going to do in terms of their own democracy. If the people of Napier, which is a very proud and long-standing community in this country, feel that they are big enough, ugly enough and sufficiently robust to operate in their own right, they should have the right to continue to do so. And if the majority of the people of Napier say, we're happy as we are, thank you very much, we have no debt, and they have no debt, Napier City Council, we operate an efficient council, our people are happy, they're all contented, they have good services, they have good community infrastructure, they have good service infrastructure and that sort of thing, then the people of Napier should have the right to say that they wish to continue in that manner. It shouldn't be that the rest of the people around Hawke's Bay, Hastings, Central Hawke's Bay and further north have a vote and outnumber them and just, roll into town and say we're taking over your city. That is not right at all. This country went to war, and we're coming up to the 100th year of the First World War. We went to the other side of the world to stand up for democracy. We went to stop invading, perpetrators coming from other countries into other lands and taking over against the people's will, and we went to defend that right of democracy. And yet here within New Zealand, this national government is basically setting up a mechanism and changing the Local Government Act to allow exactly that basically outsiders and people with bigger strength, bigger muscle, support of the government, all that sort of thing, can just basically come in and take over local interests. That's not on, and that should not be allowed in a good democratic country. And we have seen huge failings in Auckland with the structure that Rodney Hyde and John Key and the national government put in place there. Huge resentment towards what has happened there and the loss of local democracy there. And instances where those council-controlled organisations simply have no interest in working with communities at all. Auckland Transport is a classic one which constantly has been criticised. They move into areas and just simply put in things without any consultation with locals, and the locals have to suffer it. Businesses have to suffer it. I can recall a cycle lane's been put in Rosedale Road on the North Shore. They just appeared overnight, just appeared. There was no consultation, and they took out lots and lots of parking for all the local businesses and all that sort of thing. The local businesses could not believe that it had happened right under their nose, and yet that's how these council-controlled organisations work. That does not happen with good city councils who are working on behalf of and with their people. Mr. Chair.
Andrew Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in this respect, we do wonder what is the longer-term agenda of this government. When local government New Zealand and local authorities throughout New Zealand have been working very, very hard to look at all areas of improvements and services at local government level. And we have seen huge strides in terms of shared services. And our select committee, local government select committee, heard submissions over the last year or two on a number of the amendments to the Local Government Act. And we heard from councils how there are so many more shared services occurring in the likes of the Waikato, in the likes of the Bay of Plenty, where we're hearing it happening in the councils in the Wairarapa and in Hawke's Bay, and indeed across Canterbury, where there's so much more work going on between the councils, and down into Southland and Otago. All these councils working so much more collaboratively to share services and get the best that they can, and sharing management and sharing expertise across councils, and bringing in experts to assist across a range of councils, regional councils and territorial authorities. So, Mr. Chair, we just do wonder why this government doesn't want to work in partnership with local government. We only have 2 tiers of government in New Zealand, central and local government, whereas Australia has the 3 with the addition of the state government. Many other jurisdictions around the world and sovereignties around the world have 2 or 3 tiers of government. We just have the 2. And it is a shame that this government just seems to want to, everywhere it turns, wants to remove the ability of local government to perform, wants to remove very, very skilled people from local government, people who've dedicated a lot of time over many, many years, leaders in our community who they want to just basically take away. And it's quite surprising, because why so many of them, the mayors and so many of those councillors, are what you would describe in many cases National Party supporters, and yet they come to me and say, goodness knows why we continue to support the National Party, because all they do is are intent to basically kneecap us. And I'd say to a lot of the mayors out there around New Zealand and a lot of the councils around New Zealand, if you continue as a National Party supporter to continue to support them and vote for them again this year on the basis that you think they're doing a good job for local government, then you're sadly wrong. And it's time that more and more people in local government woke up to the fact that the National Party is out to basically centralise the power back to Wellington, is out to control the local authorities around New Zealand. They want to divide and conquer. They want to make sure that they pull all these authorities into bigger entities, then turn half of them into council-controlled organisations with people that they can appoint to the boards and they can control and they can influence, and probably half of them are members of the Cabinet Club who get onto some of these boards, and so that they can basically control it with the big strings from the bureaucracy in Wellington. Well, that's not what is good about local democracy. That is not what New Zealand stands for. We don't go overseas to fight in wars to stand up for democracy in countries where they don't have that level of democracy. We stand up for local people having the right to self-determine their own destiny. And in this case, New Zealand First will not be supporting these changes. And again, we will say that after the 20th of September, we will ensure that many of these things are turned around and put back how they should be on behalf of a good democratic country of New Zealand.
The question is that Part 2 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. We move to the schedules, and the questions firstly relate to Schedule 1, and there are Minister's amendments set out on SOP number 457. So the question is, the Minister's amendments to Schedule 1 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. The question is that Brendan Horan's amendments to Schedule 1 set out on SOP number 463 be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The noes have it. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party. New Zealand First.
7 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
2 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote opposed.
United Future.
1 vote opposed.
Brendan Horan.
One vote in favour.
The ayes are 16, the noes are 104. The amendment is not agreed to. The question now is that Schedule 1 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. We move to Schedule 2 and there are Minister's amendments set out on SOP number 457. The question is the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Sir William Seo's amendments to Schedule 2 set out on SOP number 460 be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. Well, we'll have a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
Brendan Horan.
One vote abstain.
Ayes 56, no 63, abstention 1. The amendment's not agreed to. The question is now that Schedule 2 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question is that Schedule 3 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question, we move to Schedule 4 and there are some Minister's amendments, again on SOP number 457. Question is that the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 4 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Schedule 5, Sir William Seo has amendments set down on SOP number 456. Question is that Sir William Seo's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. Clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
Brendan Horan.
One vote abstain.
Ayes 56, no 63, abstention 1. The amendment is not agreed to. The question now is that Schedule 5 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 6 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. On Schedule 7, the Minister has amendments set out on SOP number 457. So the question is that the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 7 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. There is a new Schedule 7A inserted. That's the Minister's amendment to the new Schedule 7A set out on SOP number 457. The question is that new Schedule 7A be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 8 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. On Schedule 9, the Minister has amendments set out on SOP number 457. So the question is that the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that Schedule 9 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question is now that Schedule 10 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. We move to clauses 1 to 3. Question is that clause 1 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Sorry? Did you want to debate this? I'm sorry. But, well, you're wanting to debate clauses 1 to 3. I had a momentary pause. If it wasn't long enough, I apologise.
You were like that train at Melling Station, Mr. Chairman.
The Chair recognises Sir William CO.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Look, this is